They allege a number of things, as I indicated: bed bugs, non-payment of rent. Mr. Papke is here. Mr. Papke, they're asking for a default judgment. They served the lawsuit on you and you didn't answer it. So
Started with the Haywoods, who are fighting to stay in their apartment despite multiple lease violations, and it will make you wonder, why would anyone skip rent, refuse pest control access, and still expect the landlord to deal with it? Let's see how the judge handles this.
all right, this is a second hearing in the matter of Sturgis Housing Commission versus Reuben Haywood and Eva Haywood. They're both present. This was filed as a termination of tenancy. They indicated that they tried to contact legal aid. Legal aid wasn't here last week and they aren't here now. I continued that matter from June 2nd to today, which has actually been 14 days rather than 10. Mr. Buckland, what's the status here today?
As far as I know, my client's still looking for possession, Judge. I haven't had any other updates. Nikki Behringer, I know, was going to be on, so I don't see her up on Zoom yet. I can call to see her status, but she's the property manager there.
All right. Mr. and Mrs. Haywood, were you able to contact legal aid?
We did, and they said that there was no guarantees that they were going to try to get some lawyers or not.
All right. So they have not filed appearance. And the plaintiff doesn't have a witness.
Sorry, Judge.
They're asking to terminate your tenancy for multiple violations of the lease, including a bunch of things: bed bugs, delinquent rent, and a number of other things which they would have to establish. I'm assuming at this point you still don't wish to move?
No, sir, so I have nowhere to go.
Well, that's what everybody says. They'd move if they had somewhere to go to. If you're evicted from here, you won't be able to get into any other subsidized complex.
I know.
Have you looked for anywhere else to go?
We have. We got scammed onto one place. We get our $300 to like the deposit part, deposit, and we're supposed to get another $3 on the first, like $600 to get in. Well, we get a $3, and we moved down to this place that we're trying to get in. Someone's already living there. They were living there for 2 weeks now, and she's trying to sell us that place. Right, that's that place.
I didn't get all of that, but when you're subject to a termination of tenancy action, the landlord can't take rent. So I'm going to have to set this for a hearing, which may take us half day. And I'm going to order that you pay the rent to me in escrow.
Okay. What? Can I ask you by chance what's a escrow or what you said?
Well, they want you to move because they allege that you have multiple lease violations. If they do evict you, it will prohibit you from getting into any other subsidized housing. So it's always best if people can find a place to move to themselves. But it's going to take me a while to set this for a half a day hearing, in which case you don't get to live there for free. You got to pay the rent to me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to find a date that works, which is easier to say than to do, particularly in the middle of the summer. Well, I have Wednesday, July 2nd. That's a jury day, and we aren't going to try a jury except Judge Patterson's gone that day. Um, all right, Nikki Barringen is late to the party, but is here. Even though Judge Patterson isn't here that day, I think he's gone that week. I think I can do this on Wednesday afternoon, July 2nd. Does that work for you, Mr. Buckland?
It does.
The rent was $386 per month. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Yep.
Order that you pay $386 per month for June and July. I'm going to set this for a termination hearing. For Wednesday, June 2nd at 1:30. Ms. Berger, when was rent last paid?
You're muted, Nikki.
Their last rent was paid in March.
We could accept it. You didn't pay April, May?
Yeah.
Sorry I was late. I had the wrong code for the meeting.
All right, now, Mr. and Mrs. Haywood,
Yeah.
I would strongly suggest that you recontact legal aid. Now, if they're not going to represent you, then they're not. But we're going to have a hearing regarding you moving out of the apartment or staying there. That'll be on July 2nd at 1:30. In the meantime, you got to pay me June's rent and July's rent, or I'm going to order that you move out 10 days after July 2nd, which would be July 12th. You may choose to hold your $386 per month to try to use it as a first month's rent somewhere else. But they allege a number of things, as I indicated: bed bugs, non-payment of rent.
Okay, about the bed bugs, like I said, I found that place in 2 weeks' time, like 4 different times.
Drilling screws.
My money, my money, I found that place. I know damn well. I don't have no bugs.
It was them not allowing us to have our pest control go
I
in
think they do.
several times for inspection. They would leave
All right, so
nasty
there's-
notes on their doors.
A number of things: smoking in the unit, damaging the unit, not allowing bed bug control, non-payment of rent, several other things. They've got to the point where they don't wish to have you as a tenant anymore. And it's hard to terminate a tenancy from somebody in a subsidized apartment. Their right level is higher than in just a regular commercial lease or private lease. But if they get what they ask for, you're going to get 10 days from July 2nd to move out. And if you don't pay the escrow money, they're going to prevail automatically. No rent's been paid since March, so I got April, May.
And I paid May, but they send it back to us.
Well, that's because once they start a termination of tenancy, they can't accept your rent. Now, let's talk about that. You pay the rent to me And then I decide who gets it when the hearing is done. If I determine that you owe the rent, I can give it to the landlord. If I determine that you're entitled to it, I can give it back to you, but you got to pay it to me. So I put defendant attempted to pay, but landlord could not accept it. They weren't being jerks. In fact, I think if it was up to the landlords, they would accept it.
Yes.
But once they file a termination of tenancy action, they're not allowed to accept any rent unless it's by court order. In this case, you'll be paying it to me. So what I'm going to ask you to do is wait, go out to the counter. We'll give you the escrow order and we'll give you the notice for the new hearing. And I suggest that you again contact legal aid. It sounds like maybe they weren't going to be representing you. But I'm not clear on that. Our next date is July 2nd at 1:30. We'll block out the entire afternoon. Then I want you to go out to the counter. They'll give you a copy of the escrow order. July's rent is not due yet. So you owe June's rent of $386. And on the 1st, you'll owe July's rent of another $386. All right. If you can find another place to move, you let the landlord know that. If you do move, it's your obligation to turn in the keys and give your forwarding address in writing within 4 days of your moving. So we'll see where this takes us. That's 4th of July week and nobody wants to do anything that week, so I have an open afternoon. I wish I was doing something on that afternoon, but instead I'll be here. All right, you go out to the counter and the ladies will give you copies of the notice and these orders. Mr. Buckland, anything to add?
I would just encourage the Haywoods to either reach out to me or Ms. Behringer, and we could see about potentially a conditional dismissal in lieu of an eviction hearing if they contact us. That may be an option.
All right, one option would be for them to give you more time if you agree to move voluntarily. And that would be a conditional order of dismissal, as Mr. Buckland stated. So reach out to your manager or them if you can agree to say, let's say you'd move by August 10th or something. They could agree to a conditional order of dismissal and let you stay longer. And this would not show as an eviction on your credit history. Yep.
Now, we have Miss Byers insisting she doesn't owe as much as the landlord claims, while the landlord tells a completely different story.
Our next matter is 135 and it's 136. We're 1 minute late. On Finrick LLC versus Marissa Byers. Marissa Byers is here.
Hello, Carissa.
Hi, John.
Ms. Byers, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, this is filed as a demand for non-payment of rent. And as such, you weren't here when I went through the rights earlier, so let me tell you where we are. Ms. Rarick's in a high-rise hotel room. Mr. Boersma looks like he's out in an arboreal forest. And Ms. Byers is somewhere here in St. Joe County. Ms. Byers, your landlord has asked you to move because they haven't paid the rent. So they wish you to pay the rent or vacate. As such, you have certain rights as a tenant in a landlord-tenant proceeding. You have a right to obtain counsel for representation in this matter. If you cannot afford an attorney, a legal aid attorney may be available to help you. And usually Megan Bauer is here from legal aid, and I'm not sure she may be otherwise committed today. You have a right to have the case heard here in St. Joseph County where the property is located. You have a right to demand a jury trial. If you wish to have a jury trial, you have to tell the court at this first court appearance and make the demand in writing within 5 days of the court explaining your right to a jury trial. And pay the $50 jury demand fee within those 5 days unless the judge waives it for your inability to pay it. If your landlord has asked you to be evicted from a residential property because you haven't paid rent, you may be able to get assistance from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, a local coordinated entry agency, a housing assessment and resource agency, or for your veteran, possible veterans services programs. We did send that information to you with the original packet. You do not need a judgment against you to receive that assistance from the places listed above. Copy of the summons and complaint in your case are sufficient. You may be able to reach an agreement with the landlord by going through alternative dispute resolution, also known as mediation. If both parties are interested, we can make a referral to that. You may be able to reach an agreement with the landlord that means the case would get dismissed. The court must provide you with the form for this or tell you where to find it online. Normally, the attorney would prepare it. So Mr. Bush has given me a breakdown here. This is a Chicago roadway pigeon address. And total rent is $480 for May, $470 for June, $950. This is a landlord that acted quickly. I sort of gave a bit of a hard time to Mr. Kreitz. He often waits so long. There's also $80 worth of late fees at $40 a month. So $950 plus 80 is $1,030. The court costs are $198.15. Mr. Bush, once again, these are very helpful. $68 filing fee, a $51.20 service fee, $75 attorney fee, small mailing fee of $395, $198.15. The total is not terrible, $1,228.15. Ms. Byers, do you have the ability to pay that?
I actually have to discuss with you how I think that this is inaccurate information. And I have it all listed here, how I would like to discuss it coming from our past hearing that we had. If I could, please.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so back at our first hearing that we had, my total that I had owed at that time was $1,865. That total, let me get the paper here. I have the wrong paper. That total then changed because I had asked you about when rent was due, which stated the first of the week, which you had then
All right,
decided.
do you have that case in front of you?
Yes.
What's the file number?
The final number was $2,371.
No, the file number of the case.
Oh, okay. 25-236 LT.
Yes, we just did this a bit ago.
Yes, Your Honor. In court, I had asked you. Okay, sorry.
Oh, judgment. All right, I issued a judgment on March 17th that said through March 23rd, the total rent was $2,100 plus late fees plus costs. So the judgment was $2,371. Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the 23rd, the judgment was through the 23rd, okay? So that would include that rent that Monday. Because it went from the $1,885 or $1,865, my apologies, when I had asked you what day the rent was due, which you decided was a Monday. That number changed to the 2,100, which is then the total. And then you said, well, there might be an issue because I have rent due a few days later after the 27th, because I had been ordered to pay that total on the 27th plus rent the few days later, which I did pay. when I paid that amount, on that day, I had asked her for some repairs at the apartment. She then responded with, when you're current, we can discuss. Since you played rent is due on Mondays, rent is due Mondays. You were paid through the 23rd according to the judgment, which means rent was due on the 24th and the 31st, which at that time we didn't discuss the day which rent was due on Monday. And you said, unfortunately, that's just how it worked. That's what changed the number from the 1865 to the 2100, which I have text messages between me and Carissa that also state that that amount owed was the 1865. Not including the rent that would be paid on the 24th, which I paid. I have been current. I paid on the 31st. I paid the 7th, the
You
14th.
paid what? How much?
Rent,
How
$235.
much? All right, go ahead.
Okay, the
So you
7th I
paid-
paid
7th of what?
April.
You paid
$235.
$230. All right.
April 14th, I paid $235. April 21st, I paid $235. I was late on April. I paid April 29th. I only paid $235 that day. Then you go to May. We're at May 7th. My next payment was May 7th, which I was late that day. I paid $245, which included the late fee for that current week. May 13th, I paid $240, which I don't understand that part because I should have paid the $245 for a $10 late fee, from my understanding. May 19th, I paid $255. Rent is originally $235, so I paid $20 extra, $10 for the late fee for the 1 week. And then I paid $10 for the week prior to that I paid the $240. I'm not sure why I paid the $240, but I paid that late fee at that time at the $255. Then on the 26th of May, I did not pay. And then June 2nd, I did not pay due to personal reasons, and I discussed it with the new property managers because we got new property managers after April 29th. I'm taking care of terminally ill friend of mine, and it's just been difficult. However, I do have the money to pay my rent. The next payment I paid was June 9th, which was $255, and I paid an additional $20 on top of the $235 because I just gave the extra $20 to pay ahead if that would need be. So with that being said, hold on one second. It says, also with the current documents that I got mailed in the mail, Carissa had been stating that I owed for the 23rd and the 31st. Well, on the court documents, it says I was paid through April 3rd and current, which would mean that those 2 weeks were paid and completed.
All right. Stop.
Okay.
This is very tedious, trying to do this week to week to week to week. And we're
Yeah.
not at the trial yet. We're just at the first hearing. But you are entitled to, how much do they believe that you owe? Mr.
According-
Bush, just stop.
Oh, sorry, ma'am. I apologize.
Have you been following this accounting information? And Ms. Rarick, you probably have too. So how much do you believe you owe, Ms. Byers?
I believe with today's rent being due, this is including today's rent, I would owe $680 total. And I would have to, because I feel like I only owe $30 in late fees because I paid them as I went.
All right. Well, the problem is each month is late thereafter. I'm gonna put you guys in a breakout room and let you hash this out a little bit. I've got several other cases waiting. I'll be here. But I'll put you in room 1. I'm gonna put Ms. Rarick in room 1. I'm gonna put you in room 1. You guys can discuss this. If we're still miles apart, then we'll take it up next week. Or if you can agree on what the rent due now is, I will use that figure.
Yeah,
So,
can we get a
yes.
date time for next week? Because I need to be in another courtroom at 2:00.
All right, yeah, the next date would be 2/30. I'm gonna continue this to June 23rd at 2:30. So no matter where we are, we'll go to that. But if you guys can agree on a number, it will help speed things up for next week. All right, everybody join the breakout room.
Do you think she's genuinely current on her rent bill or just trying to buy time? Anyways, here is Miss Adams owing months of back rent and now asking for yet another extension. Let's see how the judge handles this.
Prepare it. So let's talk about Clay Court v. Carol Adams. Let me make my notes here. I'm Sally Hipple from Clay Court. Are you Carol Adams?
Yes, I am.
Miss Adams, I'm not afraid to have you here in the courtroom. You're just down the hall in the conference room. But we use the conference room in case there's a need for consultation with legal aid or other parties. I can set it up if you're in the conference room. This is filed as a demand for non-payment of rent. And about 1 minute before I came in here, she handed me that sheet. So let's take a look at this one. Miss Adams, in this case, the contention is your April, May, and June's rent, which is $720 per month. The total is $2,160. They don't have any late fee or anything else in there, just rent, April, May, and June. Do you agree with that or disagree?
I agree with that.
Do you have a plan to try to pay it?
Yes, I do. If I can have 15 days to pay all the back rent, I will be fine. Today they took out $720 out of my bank account. She turned it in because our rent is due on the 15th, 16th. That came out today. So if I can have 15 days, I have arrangements where I can get all of the back rent paid up.
So Miss Happel, did another month's rent become due yesterday or today?
Today, and that did come out of my bank account.
All right, so they've already taken July's rent?
We get paid on the 15th.
Just a minute, Miss Adams, I'm not asking you right now, I'm asking Miss
Judge,
Happel.
are you able to hear me?
Yes,
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm really unfamiliar with Zoom. Rent did come out today. Rent comes out on the 15th of the month or the following business day. So rent did come today, and I did receive an email back from Sturgis Bank that rent, it bounced. So we sent the 7 days to pay or quit in April, but Carol did not pay rent in March either. So we've got March, April, May, June, 4 months of rent. And I'm sorry and if John's got things filled out the way they're filled out, you know, I can be compliant with that. But yeah, Carol has promised 13 times that she would come in to pay the rent, and she just does
all
not
right, so,
come.
so is there another month's rent due? Or does that 720 for June, is that June 15th?
It is June 15th for the month of June.
All right.
Yep.
Well, then tomorrow, he's got it right. So there's an additional 720.
Okay.
So as of today, there's another 720. 2160. Apparently that bounced.
Correct.
720 for June, July. 2160.
Oh, I'm sorry. The rent that came today was for June. It was not for July.
All right, I got it.
Okay.
But it wasn't due at the time of this other one, so I think that's Mr. Bush and you were about a month off. 720 would be March's rent. And then 720 would be April's rent. 720 would be May's rent, and another 720, which was due today, is June's rent.
Correct.
So it's 2160 plus 720 is 2880. Apparently, Miss Adams, your check for today did not pass, and there's 202.35 in costs, which equals $3,082.35. The law says you're entitled to one adjournment, so there's some built-in delay in here, Miss Adams, which is going to be more than 15 days. Today is the 16th. Next Monday is packed. John, are you going to be available next Monday, June 23rd?
I believe I am, Your Honor, yes.
All right, we'll continue these until 1, 2. Every week I got a bunch of civil cases stuck at the man of my landlord tenant docket. Let's continue these to 2 p.m. on June 23rd. Now, at that time, Miss Adams, I would tell you that you have 10 additional days to pay the rent, which would go until July 3rd. But we'd still be in the same rental period. So that gives you about 17 days from today to come up with the rent. Where are you going to get the money?
I have a family member that this weekend, my sister had promised to help me some time ago. And then I'm not going to say a family member, but a very good friend. When I told her the situation, she lives in Ohio, she said that this weekend...
All right, so someone's going to help you. Have you applied at DHS or anywhere else?
No, I haven't.
Do you have any source of income?
My Social Security.
All right, well, I'm afraid we're going to get right back in the same boat next month. But here's the deal. We're going to continue this matter 7 days to next Monday, June 23rd at 2 o'clock. You're welcome to come right here to the courthouse like you did today, or you can Zoom in. And if they get what they ask for, I will give you 10 additional days to pay the rent. But as of today, it appears to be 4 months, which is $2,880. That would pay March, April, May, and June's rent. Plus the court costs of $202.35. So
Okay.
Stay in contact with your family, stay in contact with your landlord, and I will see you next Monday at 2 o'clock. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
All right, let's hope you can come up with the money. If not, you're going to have to move, and that's very unpleasant. And if that doesn't happen, the sheriff can come put your stuff out. Actually, probably the first business day would be July 7th. So it's very important that you pay this rent. All right, Miss Adams, you're good to go.
Thank you, sir.
Here, we have Jasmine Hooker and Tyler Gipple behind on rent for 8 months, and even with a big payment, they're still way off. Let's see how the judge handles this.
This is file 251006LT. Versus Jasmine Harker and Tyler Gipple. They are both here and they have been advised of their rights as tenants. I don't see Meg Bauer today, and that's disappointing. In this case, Mr. Bush contends that rent is due for November, December, January, February, March, April, May, and June. November's $580, all the rest are $600, making the total rent $4,780. Do you accept that?
I actually paid a portion today, and I will be paying the rest tomorrow.
Oh, very good.
I paid $1,300 today in cash.
All
Did you
right.
hear me?
Is that true, Mr. Kreitz?
Yes, it is, Your Honor, and she said she would come in tomorrow with another 3,000, so it looks like she puts her pretty close, and we're willing to work with that if she shows up tomorrow.
All right, very good. So let me take 4,780 and subtract 1,300 from it. Well, that's pretty impressive. That doesn't happen very much. That's 3,480 is the rent through June. Court costs are $247.40. Total is $3,727.74. The court costs, Ms. Harker, are the filing fee, the process serving fee, the attorney fee, and a small mailing fee. So you've made a big dent on it already. I'm gonna do the same thing I did in the last case. I'm gonna adjourn this until next week. I'm gonna continue this until 6/23/25 at, we'll go with 2/10. Now, if everything is paid and you're squared away with Mr. Kreitz, you don't even need to show up. But if there's still some money left, we could have a further hearing on it next week, and you get 10 more days to pay the balance of that. That would take us to July 3rd. You understand?
Okay. Yes.
All right, so you started out on 4780, you paid 1,300, makes it 3480. We add in the court costs, it makes it 3727. So if you do pay 3,000 tomorrow, you'll still be 727.74 short. So if there is some short, we can talk about that next week. Let me give that number again. 3480 in rent, 247.40. Total is 3,727.74 that's due right now through June. So if you pay, great, we won't have to deal with it. If you don't pay, we'll discuss it further next Monday at 2:10 in the afternoon. Okay?
All right.
All right, I'll see you then. Thank you.
Finally, this one is on Mr. Pepke, who didn't respond to a lawsuit and now owes $13,000 after the court entered a default judgment against him. Let's see how this plays out.
Honor Credit Union versus Austin Pepke. Attorney Victoria Baker is here on behalf of Bullhouse Law. Ms. Baker, what's your P number?
P 78421, Your Honor.
This is a claim for $13,450.89. The plaintiff has requested a default judgment. The lawsuit was served on the defendant. The defendant failed to answer it. They're asking for damages in the amount of $13,450.89 at substantial 9.69 interest. And they're asking for costs in the amount of $218.777 in attorney fees. That's why we're here. I'm not sure what takes this out of the realm of statutory attorney fees of $75. Mr. Papke is here. Mr. Papke, they're asking for a default judgment. They served the lawsuit on you and you didn't answer it. So they're entitled to the default judgment. The question is, are they entitled to all the costs they've asked for? Now, if you don't like this, I guess within 21 days, you can move to set this default judgment aside. But Ms. Baker, can you help me with the attorney fee figure?
That is just billed at our standard rate of the 200 and $10 an hour, Your Honor, rather than the statutory amount.
Is there something in the contract that gives you the right to ask for actual attorney fees?
I believe that there is. Can I point it out at this very moment? I cannot, Your Honor.
I couldn't find it either. Nor could my clerk. But I'm missing pages. My copy of
I do believe she only attached the pages that were applicable to the particular portion of that complaint. So if it needs to go back to the statutory fees, that is understandable based on that.
All right, that's what I'm gonna do. I was hopeful maybe they could cite the authority for it. Mr. Papke, I'm amending this slightly. You owe $13,450. The interest is gonna accrue according to the contract at 969. There's $218 in court costs and a $75 statutory attorney fee. So let's add that up. 13450.89 plus 218 plus 75 is 13,743.89. I've signed the order entering the default judgment.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Papke, are you still at the South Main Street address in Three Rivers?
Yes.
It looks like you're at work right now. Where are you working?
Walmart in Three Rivers, Michigan. I believe 1301 South Tolbert Drive.
All right. Zoom is a wonderful thing. Anyway, the default has already happened. The question was how much money. We just worked that out. They may have been entitled to it, but we couldn't cite the authority for it. So I reverted it back to $75, which saves you about $702.
All right.
Now, I would suggest that you contact this law firm in Granville. Their number is on the pleadings, and discuss perhaps setting up a payment plan.
All righty.
Do you have any questions?
I do not.
All right, you can get back to work. Ms. Baker, I've signed your proposed order. And I'll see the judgment of $13,743.89.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you. All right,
Have a good day.
thank you. We're working on it.